everyone. Welcome to a special stream for the Mandalorian. Myself and Roberto, we saw the show the other day, and we're going to be talking about it. We might be joined by Ginger Greek later on, but no promises. So, the Mandalorian finally came on air on Disney Plus yesterday, and like most of the planet, we were all anticipating, waiting to watch it. I've actually seen the show twice, and I have to admit, the second time was a really good time. I got to understand the show a lot better watching it a second time round, but we'll get into the nitty gritties of the show. Let me first of all introduce you to my co-host. It is the great Roberto. Hello, Roberto.
Hey, I don't know about great, but I mean, I'm here to talk about the Mandalorian.
Yes, aren't we both? Just checking my notifications here. And yes, very good. So, The Mandalorian aired yesterday. And like all of us, we were anticipating the show. And once it came on, it started the way I would want a show like this to start. It felt like a Western. The first scene you see is the Mandalorian looking at his Geiger counter or some shit like that, probably on the search for his bounty. And then when he walks in, Roberto, the way that door opens, the iris of the door, is just like a cowboy walking into a saloon, you know, and then just everyone like playing their cards or whatever, they just stop and they look at this guy. Now, for some reason, these three dickheads who are harassing this blue guy, they decide to have a go at the Mandalorian, which was their big mistake. Mando takes care of them all, including getting one guy chopped on the door. And then the blue guy who he saved ends up being his bounty. He takes him back to his ship. They fuck off. And he ends up in Carbonite. Well, not Mandalorian, but the blue guy, his bounty. And it gives you an indication that, first of all, this guy, Mandalorian, he doesn't talk very much. He's a badass of epic proportions, can handle himself against three people, no problem. He doesn't suffer fools lightly. He knew what this guy was trying to do, and he immediately put him on ice. What a great start to the show. Thoroughly enjoyed it. Before we continue more about the show, Roberto, the pre-credit sequence of the Mando, what did you think of it?
The pre-credit?
I mean, the beginning of Mandalorian. With him
I
walking
thought
into that bar.
it was exactly what I wanted from it. I mean, it like you said, it was like a Western. Like he walked in, he cased like he walked.
Oh, Roberto.
Yeah, sorry, I froze up for a second. He walked in, he cased the joint, he got his bounty, and then he lured in the people that were around his bounty, and he took them out. I mean, I love the fact that he went to slide the drink across. Like, he hadn't said barely a word at that point, and then man, my internet's just being buggy. As soon as the bartender went and slid it across the table, he grabbed the drink and then he busted it on one of the dude's heads, and then he just owned him. Like, that's how much better can you start a series about a bounty hunter who is better than Boba Fett? And I'm going to say it because, look, I never got the Boba Fett hype train, and yeah, his armor looked cool, but like, that's it. So, I mean, I think it's a great start to the show. It brought me right in. And actually, my girlfriend, I'm going to be playing like Megan's advocate here, but my girlfriend was watching it too, and she's like, "This is Star Wars," and I'm like, "Yeah." She's like, "This is good." I'm like, "Yeah." So, I mean, it was a good way to get you hooked in, like in the very beginning, and it just, honestly, I think less is more with this character. The less he says, sometimes, the better.
Mm-hmm. And it's really weird in a way. I mean, watching helmeted characters for years in Star Wars of various types, you do see the emotion through that helmet. With the head tilts and the body language, you can pick up on these things. And I'm really glad that Pedro Pascal has not revealed his face yet. I'm sure he will. I do think he will reveal his face.
I hope not.
I'm not fussed either way because we all know it's him underneath there. But once he does reveal his face, I don't want it to be a regular thing that he's just constantly taking his helmet off every 5 seconds, like he's Judge Dredd Sylvester Stallone. I do not want that. One of the things I liked at the beginning of the show as well, when you said about sliding the drink, that's a very Western thing, isn't it?
Mm-hmm.
You see that in all this, the Western movies of them sliding a drink, and I love that. And then as soon as you realize this is the Mandalorian show and he freezes that guy in carbonite, you hear that epic score. It really feels like, it feels like a spaghetti Western. It's got those sounds, those flutes and stuff like that. I loved it.
Well, and I mean, the thing about this show, and I'm being more broad than anything else right now, but the thing about the show is that it knows what it is and it knows what we want, but it doesn't like ram it into our nerd colons. Like it says, look, here's this little thing here, here's this little thing here, and it felt very organic when they were giving us a lot of the little nods and nudges. It's kind of like in Rogue One. Like for me, it felt a lot like Rogue One, where it was like there were a bunch of kind of like little Easter eggs here and there, but they weren't like thrown at you like crazy. Like the little Easter eggs. I'm not talking about the big Easter eggs, but the little ones, like they weren't thrown at you and like just like as like this big huge bucket of ice thrown on you. It's like it just, I don't know. I thought it was the perfect blend of we know what you want, but we're also giving you something more or else.
I agree. I mean, you could. I have to admit, I could tell by the way I was watching a television show. You could see differences in a TV show budget compared to a movie budget, but that didn't bother me at all. But it was noticeable, nevertheless.
Go ahead.
No, go ahead. Saying, once Mando arrives on this particular planet where Carl Weathers, and I love seeing a bit of Carl Weathers, I have to say, action Carl, or the combat Carl from Toy Story. I can't forget. I forget. Nevertheless, the bounties are for him. He's like the sort of like guild master of this particular sector or some shit like that. And he ends up paying the Mandalorian in calamari credits. These little round looking checker pieces, things. Never seen that before. And apparently Republic credits, even though they still work, they're kind of diminishing in value now, I guess.
No,
with the Republic on.
Imperial credits.
Imperial credits. I apologize. But
yeah,
he did offer him Imperial
credits. That they were talking about the Imperial credits diminishing in value.
Fair enough. But it's weird in a way because Carl Weathers' character was only able to pay the Mandalorian half of the bounties, and he just took it. And then he was offered a special bounty by Carl Weathers, and he was told there's no puck, and a puck is basically a device that shows the face of the bounty, and there's no puck for this bounty. It's a private bounty underground, more underground than bounty hunting already is. So he has to visit this guy called Hunter Herzog. I think that's his name.
His name? I don't remember.
Herzog, something like that.
I honestly don't remember his name.
He's got a thick sort of Central European accent, possibly German or Dutch. Nevertheless, he has told he's surrounded by several stormtroopers who are looking very haggard and their outfits look very dusty. Personally, I'm not sure if that was the planet with the stormtrooper helmets on spikes, but why the hell would you want to keep dressing up as a stormtrooper if they're putting stormtrooper helmets on spikes? That would be the most stupidest thing. But nevertheless, these stormtroopers, this particular person who's been guarded by these stormtroopers, he gives the Mandalorian an offer that he can't refuse. He gives him Beskar armor. Now, I was really happy to see Beskar. I'm not sure if you know anything about Beskar armor or Beskar metal.
I'm assuming it's what the Mandalorian armor is made out of, but I do not know. Like, that's the inkling I got, but I don't know, like, per lore what it is.
Now, some of the books I've read in the past, which will now become legend, unfortunately, mention this. And I'll get onto that in a second when he goes into that cave. But Mandalorian, he gets given Beskar, so he's definitely going to be taking his job. He's been told by this Hunter Herzog that if he gets this particular bounty, he'll give him a crate load or a truck load or a fucking container load of Beskar.
Yeah, something. It was a bunch. It made it sound like
a shitload. Anyway, Mandalorian takes on this offer. And before I continue, what do you think about all of this? The Carl Weathers, going into that other cantina and meeting up with those stormtroopers and Hunter Herzog. What do you think of all of that?
Actually, I really like this part because it took me back to my old Wing Commander Privateer days. I used to play a game called Wing Commander Privateer eons ago. And it kind of had the same mentality is like you would go meet people in bars and you would get like either missions or you could do bounty missions or supply run missions or whatever. And like it kind of gave me that vibe. Like, you know, he's a privateer. Like he's someone who, I mean, he's a bounty hunter, but he's running his own business and he's haggling with the guy and he's doing all, and you know, I kind of feel like that is like what I want from this show. You know, and that was really cool. And I mean, you know, the whole Puck thing is cool, but you know, him not, I knew as soon as he said there is no Puck, I mean, you knew it was going to be some big deal. You know what I mean?
Vacantly.
So, you know, so I mean, I'm like, ooh, okay, this is getting interesting. And then the Mandalorian cave or whatever. I'm not big on the Mandalorian lore. I didn't finish Star Wars, The Clone Wars. I know they did a lot of deep dive in the Mandalorian lore in that show. So, I mean, I just never finished it. So I just don't know. But I mean, it seemed like it was fine. It just looks like they're like nomads that are kind of wandering around the galaxy or wandering from place to place, maybe. I don't know. You can explain that.
Well,
whatever.
I mean, I don't know how it's changed now because obviously what was once canon is now legends. I just want to quickly go back a bit. You know, when they were looking for a taxi ride to get to Mandalorian spaceship on
Oh yeah.
You notice that the Mandalorian doesn't like droids.
Yes.
So hopefully that we'll understand more about that as things progress. But when it comes to like things like the Beskar. By the way, Beskar is a really precious rare metal that is, you know, almost impenetrable. Like, you know, lightsabers can't go through it. Even that's how hard it is. Obviously, it stops laser blast, but even lightsabers struggle with it. So it's a very strong.
I know yeah, there was a couple points where I saw the blasters just kind of like bouncing off his armor.
Yeah.
So,
and I remember like a while back in one of the legends. Do you remember there was Jason and Jacinta Solo? You heard of those guys?
oh, from the books?
From the books.
Yeah. I've never read the books, but I've read up on
Jason becomes a Sith, and his twin sister Jacinta is the only person who can stop him. Yeah. And it's quite sad and tragic in a way, you know, because the Solos have already lost one of their sons, Anakin Solo, and now their own daughter has to kill their other son because he's a Sith. You know, it's quite tragic in a way. But nevertheless, she trains with Boba Fett, Jacinta Solo. And then I just remember that part in the book where they're talking about how this one armor smith was whacking Beskar armor, and his sweat was pouring and sizzling on the armor as it came out, and there's fire and stuff. And then when you see in that cave, that Mandalorian cave underground, and you see that armor smith working on the Beskar, it reminded me of those parts of the book, and I loved it. It really honored some of the stuff from Legends, and I appreciated that. I really did. Beskar, you know, it's like Beskar is like vibranium, you know, for the Wakandans. You know, it's you know, it's like it's very important to them. It belongs to them. It's what, you know, it's part of what symbolizes Mandalorians is Beskar armor, Beskar metal. And I like that. I mean, he gave all his money away. He gave him the fucking Beskar just so he could have a shoulder piece, for fuck's sake. You know, it's really important to him.
Well, and I think we'll see more about that like Mandalorian society thing as we move along. The one thing I really appreciate about the Star Wars canon is that they said that they didn't say that they were getting rid of all of the canon, but they did say is that nothing is canon until it's said otherwise in the current run. You know what I mean? Like, so like all this Mandalorian lore could be coming, you know, it could all be coming back.
No, you're absolutely right. I mean, the stuff in Legends is no longer canon, but they are still using what they know from all of that. I mean, they can't change things up too much. I mean, they'll go in a different direction, but some of the basic lore of what makes these people who they are, that's got to stay the same. And things like Beskar armor, Beskar metal,
and I kind of do that
I'm glad they kept it.
Yeah, and I kind of use that in reverse because basically my thought process is, well, I guess it's canon until it's not. So it's like, a lot of this stuff is like, I know they say that like none of the extended universe is canon. But I think if it doesn't conflict with anything that's in the current universe, then it's still canon. Like,
Yeah. I'm just saying that if they deviated from what we know of how things are done, it would have caused an uproar because people would have said, that's not Mandalorians. They don't operate like this. They like to use Beskar armor. Imagine if they came up with a new metal name. That would have been stupid. But
well, here's the thing. I think Jon Favreau knows better. I think he's like, you know what? Anyone who doesn't know Mandalorian lore won't care. And and anyone who knows Mandalorian lore will care that it's called Beskar armor. But anyone like my girlfriend, she doesn't care. Like she's like, what's Beskar armor? I'm like, I don't know. I mean, it looks like it's some strong metal. Like,
and look at me, I'm going on about it all the bloody time.
Yeah, but, I mean, it doesn't. It doesn't. Like as I said, I mean, it's until it's not canon, it doesn't really matter because I mean, if you can appease the fans and appease the people who don't know what it is, then why hurt? Why mess with it? I think that's the way Jon Favreau's going with it. He's like, look, do the regular fans know what Beskar armor is? No, but you know what? Through storytelling, we can bring them in the loop and still keep the lore, the Star Wars lore fanatics happy.
Well, now Mando's got his new shoulder piece. He's all happy and proud, and he jumps on his ship and he goes to the planet where this package is so he can get it back for Hunter Herzog. And when he lands, he's looking around the place, checking the terrain, and he sees these creatures that basically look like piranhas on legs. That's the only way I can describe.
But can I wait? Let me do the Imperial part because I didn't get to that yet.
What Imperial part?
When he goes and meets with the Imperial people.
Oh, sorry, I apologize. Go on.
That's okay. So I mean, but that part I kind of really liked it. Like it was kind of a nice reversal where the Imperial soldiers like had the tattered armor, like now they're the rebels. You know what I mean?
Yeah,
like,
they're in hiding because people hate them, and their currency is not doing well either.
Nope. And wasn't the I don't know if the helmets were in the trailer. I don't know if they were in this episode.
I'm not sure either. I'll be honest with you.
I don't think that that was the. I don't think they showed the part with the helmets. So I think that the Imperials are probably
that could be a different planet.
Yeah, from probably a different episode. But I think the Imperials are probably safe there. They're just also not trying to advertise that they're there. You know what I mean? Like they're not trying to advertise that a small faction of the Empire is there.
Yeah. So,
but I did like the part because it kind of showed like the Empire after Return of the Jedi.
Oh, the remnants of like these particular factions. I mean, I just like that. When he's like he's got those guys. I mean, you saw it in the previous clips before Mando came out. But when he says, "I like those odds," I mean, just badassery.
And that's what I'm saying. Like, yeah, like he doesn't say very much, and that's the great part about him.
Anyway, he's now on this other planet, and I wish there's one thing I do want from Mandalorian. I want them to tell us the name of these fucking planets they're on. I mean, just put a name on the screen so we know where the fuck they are.
Yeah, because they didn't do any. I noticed they didn't do any title cards for any planets in the entire episode. I think they did that on purpose, so they weren't like committing to any kind of like. Because I could have sworn that they were on Tatooine. That desert planet looked like Tatooine, like just the look of it, like from space. But I mean, I'm like, they never told us what it was.
No, he's on this particular planet, and he sees these piranhas on legs, and these things are going to kill him, and he eventually gets saved by this little creature. Now, this little alien creature was last seen in Empire Strikes Back after, I think, C-3PO gets destroyed, and before Chewbacca can put him back together again, he's in this like bits of him are in this sort of Imperial junkyard.
Really?
On City. Sorry,
I had no idea that's where they came. Is that the same race?
Yeah.
Oh, I didn't know that.
Yeah, it is. But you never heard them talk and stuff. And now Nick Nolte, he's voicing this particular character, but you don't know much about these guys. Anyway, this particular person comes across as a wise old hermit of a creature, and he advises, he wants to help the Mandalorian, kill these bad guys who are holding his package hostage, because these bad guys are bad people and they're ruining this place, because everyone who lives on this planet lives in peace. So the Mandalorian, says, yeah, he'll kill them all. And every time this alien creature finishes speaking to Mando, he says, I've spoken, I have spoken. And I love that about him. It's like when he finishes speaking, I have spoken. And then when I end this stream, I will end it by saying, I have spoken. What do you think of that little catchphrase? Would you like it on T-shirts? I think it would be great on T-shirts. I have spoken. So simple, yet so memorable. The creature itself, what do you think of it? Nick Nolte, it was perfect. What do you think of it, Roberto?
I thought it was great. I don't know. I just thought that it was a nice little, like, it wasn't like a Jar Jar Binks character. It was a character that kind of had a little quirk to him.
It was an original trilogy's alien.
But I mean, it's not like it was like a dumb character for kids. Like it was a character that took itself seriously, and
there's lots of short characters in Star Wars. Lots of short characters.
Mm-hmm. So I mean, I don't know. I mean, I thought it was I thought it was a good use of a side character that, and I mean, bringing back an old. I mean, I didn't even realize it at the time, but bringing back an old Easter egg gem from the Empire that Strikes Back. That, and I mean, he was. I mean, I like I like how it wasn't CGI. I like how it was all like animatronics. I thought, even though, did the lip movements match up completely? No, but I kind of felt like that's what gave it its charm, just like the original trilogy. Like, it didn't have to. It's not. Sometimes it's not 100% pretty, and that's kind of what I like about it. So
yeah, me too. Me too. I like everything about that particular creature, and I like just how simple he was. I hope we get to see more of him. Now,
let me ask you a question really quick. Do you mind if I ask you something really quick about?
Yeah.
So do you want the Mandalorian to start running with a crew, or do you just kind of want him to meet people and bounce off them, and then maybe see these people again later on? Like, do you want there to be a Mandalorian crew, or do you want it to just be people that kind of frequent in his life on and off?
The latter, and I'll tell you why. Like, before the Mandalorian series came out, there were rumors of a Boba Fett film. And what I wanted from a Boba Fett movie was a film where it's pretty much focused about him and his interactions with other characters. And most importantly, I do not, and I repeat, I do not want a character arc. I don't want this guy to somehow change over the course of the film. I want him to remain stone cold at the beginning and stone cold at the end. You know what I mean? He is a bounty hunter who takes no prisoners, and I want it to remain like that. I don't want him to have a revelation that he's going to be nice man. No, I don't want that. And same to a degree with Mandalorian. He might learn new tricks, but he's still got to have that ice in his veins. Now, there are more sides to his personality, and we will get to that as we progress. Now, in the episode after he finishes his training with the Nick Nolte alien, by learning how to ride those piranhas on legs, he then goes to the base where the package is held by the bad guys. And as he arrives, a familiar looking droid called IG-11, the same sort of droid as IG-88, which was also an Empire, just walks in.
That I recognized right away.
Yep. He just decides to walk in and deal with those bad guys by himself. Now, IG-11 is a bounty droid. The IG-11, you find out, with the interactions between IG-11 and the Mandalorian, that they're part of a bounty hunters guild, so they won't fight each other. But before Mandalorian and IG-11 meet up, IG-11 decides to take shit down on his own, and he just starts shooting people. And I loved every minute of it. The way his body twists and turns in 360, I love it. He looks this way, shoots that way. Someone's there, shoots that way, turns, shoots that way. Fantastic, absolutely fantastic. Really nailed it on. And I've seen several shootout scenes in Star Wars films, in the prequels, the sequels, and the original trilogy. This is the best one. This is the best of all the shootout scenes I've seen in Star Wars. This was fantastic, really well choreographed. It looked great. It felt like a Western as well. There was a bit of Butch Cassidy in the Sundance Kit at the one point when they both run around from that pillar and then they see that giant Gatling gun and they hide again. Fantastic.
Well, and I mean,
it was great. Taika Waititi, sorry, Rebecca, I will get to you. Taika Waititi as IG-11, the way he was voiced, perfect, absolutely perfect. Well, before I go on more about IG-11, what do you have to say?
I mean, I really liked it. I mean, it definitely took back. I mean, I have read parts of the old Bounty Hunter series back years and years ago, so I mean, I'm pretty familiar with IG-88 a little bit. And I mean, I've seen him in games and yada yada. It was nice to see him. It was nice to see an IG model in living color, like on the screen. And you're right, like it was probably one of the best choreographed blaster battles that I've ever. I mean, you see all these great like choreographed like lightsaber battles, but this blaster battle was actually right up there. And I love it. Just like the Mandalorian came around the corner when they saw, or came around the pillar when he saw the thing. He's like I wanted him to say, "Oh shit," but I mean, obviously he's not because it's Disney Plus. But
but they don't say the word shit in Star Wars generally. They'll say something like crud or food.
Yeah. Well, he's like, well, I mean, I think he said, "Okay." And
Yeah.
it's just like it was a good psych out. I thought it was hilarious.
But at that particular point, he kind of showed more character and emotion in a firefight than he did prior to that, because he couldn't play. He's dealing with a droid. He can't play it cool. He's getting frustrated.
Mm-hmm. Right, what is it? Self-destruct he was trying to do every 5 seconds.
Sorry,
he's trying to self-destruct every 5 seconds.
Yeah, exactly. He goes, "Don't self-destruct," and he's giving him options, and he accepts it and stuff like that. And it was really good. And with using IG-11 as a bit of bait to draw the fire, Mandalorian ends up getting the Gatling gun, and turns the tables on the bad guys and kills them all. And IG-11 himself isn't dead; he's still alive, and they both go to see the package. When they go to the package, this was like the biggest twist of all. I mean, at first I thought it was a green fucking mugwai, but no, it's not. It's a baby version of the Yoda species. Now, it's not little Yoda, but okay. Now, this thing was adorable, by the way, and it's also 50 years old, because because I do recall, I don't know how old Master Yoda was, but he did say that he'd been training Jedi for over 900 years.
No, he was 900 years old. He had been training Jedi for 800 years.
Ah, my bad. Wow. Fair enough. So, okay, fair enough. But yeah, so Yoda's species, which nobody knows the name of, because out of all the things in Star Wars, he's been given names and stuff. The only thing that hasn't really been given a name or a designation is Yoda's species. Nobody knows what it is. But I do believe that his species of alien has got a high midichlorian count, which is probably why the bad guys are after him, or the Imperial bad guys are after him. But IG-11 has been given, I think he's been given a different job by different employers to the Mandalorian. And IG-11 is not supposed to take back the package alive. He's supposed to kill it. Now, this is where you see more sides to the Mandalorian. I mean, even though he would happily kill people, without a second glance, he's not going to be killing a baby anytime soon, even if though this baby's 50 years old. Nevertheless, he's not going to have it killed. And IG-11 is about to kill it. And instead of that happening, Mandalorian kills IG-11. Now, I wasn't expecting that.
I don't know if IG-11's dead. I mean, because he's on the posters.
He puts it, but not dead, but you know what I mean. I mean, he's a robot.
Yeah.
He's not technically alive, but you know what I mean.
I think probably what will happen is he'll repair him and maybe reprogram him or something. Or
I want to see more IG.
Because, I would love to too.
Because unfortunately, what we saw of IG-11 from the trailers was all in this episode, all of it. So I hope we get to see more of him. But then the episode ends with Mandalorian sticking his finger out, about to touch Baby Yoda's finger, because he's got a soft spot for kids, I guess.
And then all of a sudden, Baby Yoda pushes him across the room, and he gets impaled on a metal spike.
Yeah, and he's a dark side user.
Hashtag fake
the baby's a dark side user. So that was the end. Now, I have to admit, when I first saw this episode, I didn't know how to take it the first time around watching it. When I watched it the second time, I fucking loved it. I loved every minute of it. I thought it was fantastic. I enjoyed the ride. I didn't like the blue alien too much. It felt more Star Trek than Star Wars. The blue alien at the beginning of the film, the series. Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, I can see your point on that.
Human. Sorry, say that again?
I said I can see your point on that. I mean, it does kind of look Star Trek-y.
And the way he acts as well, he acts very human. So I didn't like that. I don't like my aliens with American accents. And I'm nothing against Americans, but Star Trek, every alien had a fucking American accent. At least Star Wars knew that you had to make different sounds and different tones. And but nevertheless, the only people with American accents or British accents were human beings. But in this case, an alien has one, but who cares? Nevertheless, I didn't know really initially how to take the show, but the second time I'm watching it, thoroughly enjoyed it. It made more sense. Little things like they were talking about when they were going to Mando's spaceship on the ice. They briefly mentioned about these creatures that are underwater, under the ice. They're very dangerous, and then boom, you see one. These sort of fucking alien walruses. And I like the way Mando used that bloody lightning rod stick to get rid of it. That was pretty cool. That's a Boba Fett weapon, by the way.
That's a Mandalorian weapon.
No, but Boba Fett used it in the cartoon animated series before he
was
Empire Strikes Back.
I do remember seeing that.
It's weird in a way, with this show, because it is pretty much Boba Fett without him being Boba Fett, if you know what I mean.
Well, isn't Boba Fett's not Mandalorian? I always assumed
Mandalorian.
No, I think they said that he's not.
Boba Fett has got Boba Fett's dad. Jango Fett is a Mandalorian.
Look, I'm telling you, go back and look. I just found this out, but supposedly Boba Fett was not a Mandalorian. He killed a Mandalorian and took his armor. I just found that out too.
All I'm saying is that Boba Fett might as well be a Mandalorian because he lived that way of life, if you know what I mean.
Yeah.
I mean, he's got the fucking helmet. His dad was one. He's clones of one. So he knows how to. He fights like a Mandalorian. You know what I mean? So he's got all the tools. The flamethrower and all that shit, and the wire and all of that. Blast. So, but I'm just saying, it could have been a Boba Fett series. But they decided to go down this.
I'm glad it's not. I don't like Boba Fett. I think he was the biggest premature ejaculation that Star Wars has ever had.
It would have been really difficult to make a movie out of Boba Fett because you wouldn't be speaking much and you would want him to keep his helmet on. it was going to be a hard task, but they're definitely not making a Boba Fett film now. And who would want one now with the Mandalorian starting so well? Now the next episode is this Friday.
I'm going to be tuning in.
Likewise, and we will definitely be doing another spoiler discussion straight after the show. But where do you think the series is going to be going in episode 2?
I mean, I think it's going to be, and I hope I'm kind of wrong, but I think it's going to kind of be like the whole, remember the Star Wars Clone Wars movie where they found, like, where they had to go retrieve baby Jabba or
Jabba's kid.
Yeah, Jabba's kid. I think it's going to be like that, like the Mandalorian. I think he's going to take IG-11 and take him on his ship, and I think he's going to have the baby Yoda, and I think he's going to go off. He's going to fix IG-11, and I think they're going to have a hashtag, like a hash out of whatever. I kind of hope it's not like that, but that's kind of where I see it going.
I just don't want him to have a crew.
Yeah, I don't mind him having characters that kind of pop in and out from time to time.
Yeah,
like, I don't want him to have like a crew.
Yeah.
Okay.
Exactly. People who come in and out of his life is good. I'm not sure if there's gonna be a love interest or not.
Oh God, I hope not.
Maybe not in season 1. I wouldn't be surprised.
I hope not. I don't want that. Like, if the MCU has taught us anything, it's that you don't need a love interest for every character. Like, I mean,
No, I'm not saying they would give him one straight away, but
yeah,
we are talking a television show, not a film, so they'll have to keep things different from time to time. I mean, I personally, I want him. I want to see him do a bit. Do a bit more bounty hunting, actually, capturing fools and stuff like that. But with this particular bounty he's going to have with Baby Yoda, I think he's going to be on the run. I think who's going to be the bounty? Him. I think the new bounty is going to be the Mandalorian. I think people are going to be chasing him. It'll probably be John Wicking it all over fucking space.
Well, I mean, I can see them going in that direction. But I don't know if I want it. I'm kind of, see, that's the thing. I don't know what I want from this series. So I'm kind of open to a lot. I don't know if I want it to be like Mando and Baby Yoda fly across the universe trying to avoid bad guys. Like, I don't know if I want that. Like, I mean, if they did do that, do it towards the end of the season, not in the very first episode.
I just feel like the child, like a badass having to look after a child. This sort of thing, like sort of protector of a child, I think it's been done to death, in my opinion. Well, I mean, right now we're going to have a similar thing in the Witcher series.
And then in Logan, it's the same thing.
Terminator.
Yep, Terminator.
All of this sort of shit. So it's been done to death, and I do like the twist on it with the Baby Yoda. I have to admit, it was a good twist. But I hope they don't prolong with this too much. Just deal with it'll be interesting to see. I mean, like I said, nobody knows the name of the species of this particular alien. No one knows where this alien particularly comes from. All of this, it is a baby. Surely, if it's from a planet, there'll be millions more of these babies. But who knows? It's hard to say. Hard to know.
Yeah, I mean, I don't know. As I said, I don't know if I want.
Do you think it is a clone of Yoda by any chance, or something along those lines?
I hope not. I mean, I kind of hope it. Like, I don't want them to, like. It's kind of like Yoda's kind of like the Joker. Like, the more you dive into his origin, the less the spectacle it is. So I'm not looking for like the Yoda origin, like what.
No, but I think
season all that. I kind of like
now, Roberto, that we should be maybe revealing some layers. We're at that particular time. I feel it's about time maybe we get to know a little bit more about who this creature is, and at least we don't have to focus on the Skywalkers. But the only thing that's concerning me is Jedis and stuff like that, because
And that's what I was going to say.
I thought we were going away from all of that with this series.
And that's what I don't want in this series. I don't want Sith. I don't want Jedis. I want it to be bounty hunters and lawlessness. Like, you know, like I don't want Jedis involved in this at all. I know they're a part of the universe, so if there's references to them, that's okay. But like, I think
after 5 years, there's still only one Jedi, isn't there? And that would be Luke Skywalker.
Yeah, I mean that would be it at this point.
Mm-hmm. And you know, this is another thing as well. I really wanted to mention. Isn't it refreshing having something Star Warsy? I know. Episode 7 and 8 are set after Empire Return of the Jedi, but isn't it refreshing having something set after Return of the Jedi so soon after Return of the Jedi?
Yeah. I mean, I that's one of the main things I like. I liked Return of the Jedi, and I liked the ending of that. I always wondered what happened after the fall of the Empire. Like, you know, I wanted to know what happened after the Empire had fallen or gone away or been defeated. Like, I mean, those are things that I've always wondered ever since I saw Return of the Jedi for the first time.
And I don't know how much The Mandalorian will be bridging the gap between episode 6 and 7. I don't know if it'll be bridging the gap at all, but it might answer a few things in how a new Imperial, First Order, whatever you want to fucking call it, rises from the ashes, like it says in the beginning of episode 7, just like that. Which really pissed me off about that fucking film, because one minute the Empire's dead, and next thing you know, they're back again with no explanation.
Well, I mean,
I'm hoping this gives us some.
They did explain it a little bit. I mean, they said that the remnants of the Empire went out into the Outer Rim, and then from that sprouted.
Yeah, but that's nothing. That's just chat. You know what I mean? That's just talk. I want to see actual elements of how this change came to be, and not only that, but Kylo Ren. I know we're really going away from Mandalorian here, but Kylo Ren, how does he end up being in charge of these guys? Because yes, he had a falling out with Luke, but doesn't mean all of a sudden he's now fucking boss of the bad guys. I mean, how does that happen? You know what I mean? It's just weird. I always found that weird, but there you go. At least with Jon Favreau in charge of the Mandalorian, hopefully he'll fill in the gaps. Now, the only thing I will say is that I wish Favreau directed the first episode. This is his baby, and he should have directed the pilot. He got some other geezer to direct it, and this other geezer, this was his first live action direction job. This one, the Mandalorian, which is kind of remarkable. You don't give a first timer the pilot of the first ever live action Star Wars television show, in my opinion. And he did a good job, but I think Favreau would have made this a great first episode.
I mean, I think I trust Jon Favreau's judgment. I mean, he probably knew the person would do a good job. So I mean, that's where I'm kind of, because he's kind of overseeing this project. He's not, I know he's directing a couple episodes, but I know it was written by him. But I mean, I think that Jon Favreau has enough judgment to know this person can bring my vision to life. Because isn't Taika Waititi directing the season finale of Mandalorian?
Yeah, he is.
I thought that's what was going on.
Yeah, because when it comes to television shows, directing is a big deal, because like a film will be a couple of hours. A television show is several hours, and so you need several directors to get you through it. And I don't know who'll be directing episode 2, but I hope it's a good one, and I do believe it will be a good one. I'm on board on this show. I wasn't so certain when I first watched it, but watching it a second time, hooked, fell in love with it. Absolutely great.
As I said, I sat there with my girlfriend watching. She thought it was great too. So
generally, Roberto, did you enjoy it? Are you happy? Finally we've got some good Star Wars again. Really good Star Wars.
It's exactly what I wanted it to be. Like, I mean that, and I mean that. Like, I'm not one of those people that likes to be surprised. I mean, the baby Yoda race twist was kind of like, like oh my gosh, but it's like I'm not one of those that likes to be super surprised. Like it's exactly what I wanted it to be. He's a
Well,
bounty hunter.
they needed to end the pilot on a hook, didn't they? So that
Yeah.
was the hook right there. Yeah, it was. But I mean, you look back at the prequels, extremely divisive. Yeah, you look at the sequels. They're not that popular either, in my opinion. I've not liked episode 1, not like episode 2. People say episode 3 is good. No, episode 3 is only seems good because by then, they got people understood how these stupid Star Wars movies are made by George Lucas in the prequels, and also to a degree there was a little bit of chemistry between Anakin and Obi-Wan, which wasn't really there in episode 2. They had good chemistry, in my opinion. That's the only thing I'll give it to them. But the film was still shit. Then you got episode 7 shit. You got episode 8 shit. I mean, and look, some people might like stuff like Rogue One and Solo, but even those are quite kind of divisive. Like not everyone is on board on that. But so far, nearly everyone likes the Mandalorian, and that's a good thing. And finally, we might have a winner when it comes to Star Wars, and it's not going to be a film. Going to be a bloody television show.
Well, then let me pose this really quick. I know we're kind of running long here, but let me pose this though. I mean, I know we have Obi-Wan, or I know we have Kenobi on the horizon and stuff like that, but what show would you like to see on Disney Plus next? Like in the wake of Mandalorian and how well this was done, what show would you like, to come next?
Well, personally, I've always wanted Old Republic.
Would you want a movie or a show?
It's got to be a show. Because there's 5,000 years of Old Republic period, which has been documented in legends. I'm not sure about canon, but I don't know if it's canon anymore. It's hard to say nowadays what the fuck is canon, what's legend.
Well, and that's kind of why that's what I said earlier was like,
like all the stuff, the Darth Bane stuff, the Darth Revan stuff, all this shit. It's hard to say. But I want to.
It's canon until it's not, in my opinion.
But fair enough, as you said earlier. But as I said before, this could be the Old Republic. Could be if it's adult, or it's got to be adult orientated as well, which is my problem with Disney, because I really do feel the Old Republic could be the Game of Thrones of Star Wars. It really could be if it's done
less
right.
Incest.
Sorry?
With less incest.
Yeah, well, depends on the alien race. But
right. Or if you're Luke and Leia.
It's really there. There's so much. You got thousands of Sith, thousands of Jedi. It was the highest period of time where these two factions were fighting each other at their biggest. And I would love to see these battles form and see if the Sith reigned high for many years, or if the Jedi remained high. I don't want to see any Darth Bane stuff. I don't want to see any of that. I just want to see a whole bunch of new characters at a period of time in the Old Republic and focus on them. And we could do several seasons, several shows. It could be like in the space of 1,000 years even. But it's just something along those lines, because that's the juicy stuff right there. And it doesn't have to be related to the fucking Skywalkers and all that sort of stuff.
Oh, no Skywalkers. I'm done with Skywalkers.
No, none of that shit. But that's about as far as I would go regarding Jedi and Sith and stuff like that. Old Republic. I would like to see other stuff to do with Star Wars, which is nothing to do with the Jedi. But, it could be to do with... I mean, it could be different periods of time as well. I'm not sure if they're going to ever make stuff up after episode 9, like time-wise.
I mean, I would like to see a squadron type show, like either like the Rebel Academy, like maybe like
Cassian Andor, aren't they? They're doing a Cassian Andor show.
Yeah, I'm talking about pilots and stuff like that. Like, you know what I mean? Like, like X-wings and A-wings and Y-wings, like, the old, and like maybe like have it, based on, you can either do it between like before, in between some movie, but I want it to be like, call it like Rebel Academy, where it's like you have these, young bucks who, you know, like Luke wanted to join the rebellion or join the Empire when he was, and you have like two, you know, you have two friends who go their separate way. Like one joins the rebellion, the other one joins the Imperials, and you kind of
Okay.
follow between the two, but like it's more focused on like the spaceship aspect of it and piloting aspect of it rather than, you know, like,
Yeah,
go ahead.
I was just thinking I would like to see maybe more stuff where the focus is on the antagonist, not the protagonist.
So you want like a
Like,
TIE fighter, like where it's like Imperial
yeah,
account.
you know, like one of the things Battlefront 2 made a mistake of was their single player campaign, because they advertised it that it's from the perspective of the Empire, that you play an Imperial soldier. Yeah. But this Imperial soldier ends up joining the fucking rebel scum within 5 minutes. And it's really annoying. Yeah. I want to be, you know, a show about some of the bad guys. Maybe
Yeah.
a show about the Huts.
Well,
You
and
know?
like one of my favorite show or one of my favorite games growing up was TIE Fighter, where you were a Imperial pilot. It was a simulator game. You're an Imperial pilot flying around blowing up rebels. Like, I mean, how much, you know, you're flying TIE fighters, TIE bombers, TIE advanced. Like, you know, like I would look for
Outside
something like that.
outside of bounty hunters, Jedi, Sith, and the Imperials, what else is there in Star Wars?
Like the independent market. Like, I mean, you know, um like independent, like freighter family markets. They do a lot of those. You know, like families that own a space station that, like, you know, they do lots of freighters and lots of supply runs and stuff like that. And I mean, they could really like do like a Deep Space Nine type thing where it's like instead of going all around the galaxy, they just have a lot of things coming to them, but they would be
Make it
independent.
almost like a soap opera.
I don't know if it'd be a soap opera, but it would just be like, you know, the Imperials, you know, because there was a game called X-Wing Alliance where, you know, like there was this family that owned this station, and then like they were helping the rebels escape Hoth. Like, you know, they warped out, you know, they hyperspace to their station and then they resupplied and then left there. And then that got them in deep trouble with the Imperials. So the Imperials came and seized their station, and then, you know, and I just think something not exactly along those lines, but like something about like a family business who owns a lot of like freighters and a station, and they just get a lot of traffic coming through their station, and you know, something, you know, just exploring some of the other races that they talk about. You know, and it does sound very Star Trekky, but that's the Trek in me coming out. But I mean, I
Yeah,
kind of like that
I love my Trek.
Hmm?
I love my Trek. I will never. I'm both. I'm Star Wars, Star Trek. I'm happy with being both.
Yeah. Well, a lot of people don't want to
Marvel
put
and
Star
DC.
Trek
I'm
in
both.
Star Wars, though. So
Well,
that's what the games are
at
for.
least we know. I mean, let's wrap this up. At least we know that what people wanted was a space western, and we're getting a space western. We
Mm-hmm.
got a space western, and I'm happy with that. I can't wait for episode 2. I can't wait to review it with you as well, Roberto. Maybe we can get the Greek bastard with us to join us next time.
Yep.
So, we're going to wrap things up. Are you got anything to say before we shoot off?
Nope. I think we're good. So take us out, homie.
Thank you very much for watching. Have a nice day. Don't forget to watch the episode 2 show of the Mandalorian spoiler. That's coming up on Friday night at some this sort of stupid time in England, and maybe 5 hours earlier in America, or 7 hours earlier than that, depending on what time zone you're in. So keep an eye out for that. Thank you very much for watching. Have a nice day. I have spoken.